Hey, what's going on, guys? So, it's been a long time. It's been a minute. Haven't posted in a while. Taking a nice long break from YouTube for various reasons. None of them bad, really. Just, content creation, especially when you're, a one-man show is a full-time job. And I have a full-time job. A fairly good one, as, a lot of you guys can tell from my cigar collection. And that's mostly what I've been focused on. That, and on top of that, just pouring back into myself, focusing on myself, fitness and everything else. When you're trying to work a full-time job and you're filming and you're editing that content and you're constantly posting and you're networking and all these different things, it's like this nonstop thing. And, like I said, I have a life to live, I have a job to do, I have a fiance to attend to. So it's like, it's just a lot. And then you factor in like YouTube, just their war on tobacco products, man. It's insane. Some of the things that I've had to deal with this channel over the past, I believe it's been about 2 months since I last posted. Between all of that, that just equaled up to me just taking a break from YouTube. But here we are, we're back. During that time, I have been filming content. During that time, I've been smoking cigars. During that time, buying cigars. I have plenty of reviews and plenty of pickup videos to drop on you guys. And so I decided, though, that with having taken such a long break and having recently acquired what I consider a very, very special stick, I figured I might as well make my comeback video about this particular cigar. So, as you guys can tell by the title already, we're going to be smoking today the Don Carlos Petite Lancero. So these are very difficult to come by. Over the years, Fuente has made Lancero versions of the Don Carlos in 7.5 by 40. And then in really, really small batches, I believe they've made these Petite Lanceros. They've never, as far as I understand, with the Petite Lanceros, released them to the general public. I believe these have been like event exclusives and fundraiser exclusives. I don't really know that much. So if I'm missing something, let me know in the comments. The Don Carlos is just a very, very special cigar to me. So the cigar that made me a Fuente fanboy is the Don Carlos in Robusto, the basic Don Carlos 550. And I remember the first time I had that cigar. Very surreal experience. Just the day I had prior to that, the flavors that I got off of that cigar smoking it, it was just a very, very, very amazing experience. And ever since then, I've loved the Don Carlos line and I've loved the Fuente line. You guys know I have a ton of rare Fuentes. I have the Bulls, I have the Sharks, Heaven and Earths, various Opus X's, all types of stuff. And so to be able to come across these and have some in the collection. And so this is a 6.25 by 40 ring gauge Petite Lancero, wrapped in that 10-year aged Cameroon wrapper, as all regular Don Carloses are. This has the 109 Bellicoso cap on the head here. So you have that nice torpedo shaped cap. It's the exact same size as the Petite Lancero Opus X specifically. Arturo Fuente put out 500 boxes of 25. That's it. 500 boxes of 25 for the whole world, essentially. And so you can believe my surprise when I came across these. I'm not super surprised that the B&M that I got these from got these. They have a really good working relationship with the Fuentes, and so they get a lot of really good stuff. They were able to get a box. That's all they got was one box. And they were selling these limit one per customer, $16.50 per stick, so $16.50, super reasonable. I was able to secure about 3 of these. I ended up picking up one, which I was gonna do for, I was gonna save for a rainy day, and then I went back to pick up some JT10, some Johnny Tobacco Not 10th anniversaries, and I had grabbed one from them before, liked it, came back later, bought a box, and then I was grabbing some singles, so I didn't have to take anything out of the box, because I want to sit on that box for a while. And I noticed that they had these, and when I went to grab some, the owner, who I'm pretty cool with, he was like, how many are in there? And I told him there's only 2 left. And he's like, you can have both of them. Don't worry about the limit. So Ended up taking the last 2 they had. So I have 3 of these, and I'm gonna smoke one here for you guys for review. So for those of you who don't know, the Don Carlos line is obviously Arturo Fuente, but they use well-aged Mirafel tobacco. Good draw. Specifically, they get, for years, for those of you who don't know, actually, let's get into it. So Arturo Fuente is distributed nationally by Mirafel. Mirafel is the world's leading producer of African Cameroon wrappers. They produce the highest quality African Cameroon wrappers, and most brands that buy true African Cameroon wrapper buy from the Mirafel family. Well, Arturo Fuente has had a distribution deal for decades to where the Mirafel family distributes Arturo Fuente's product internationally. Now in America, Arturo Fuente is distributed by Arturo Fuente and their particular distribution company. But for the rest of the world, it's the Mirafel family. And so for all of those years, Fuente has also gotten first dibs on Mirafel's best tobacco. Their reserves, their hand-picked stuff, their selects, all of their best tobacco. Arturo Fuente generally goes in and gets what they want. And then whatever's left over, the rest of the world buys, essentially. Well, what's interesting is that the Fuentes are ending their distribution deal, which is decades long, with the Mirafel family. And so what's happening now is that Fuente will be distributed by themselves, both internationally and here in America. What that means for Arturo Fuente and potentially the Don Carlos line or any other line that they have that uses Mirafel Cameroon tobacco remains to be seen, because really they're just ending their distribution deal. I highly doubt the Mirafels would refuse to sell to the Fuentes, but that also might mean that they might not get first dibs on the best tobacco anymore either. So I don't know, we'll see. But I'm gonna go ahead and shut up and get to this because I'm excited. Okay, so just on that light up off the rip, I'm getting sweetness. I'm getting a natural sweetness. I'm getting some chocolate. I'm getting some nuts. I'm getting quite a bit of baking spices. This is pretty much everything so far that I love, absolutely love about the Don Carlos blend. Just more intense off the rip. A lot of times I've noticed with Don Carlos is that they tend to kind of need to warm up a little bit before they really start to become their best selves. But this is starting off awesome. Those first couple puffs, I got so much sweet milk chocolate off of that, and nuts. That was the 2 primary things that I was getting, just sweet milk chocolate and nuts. And then now I'm starting to get a bit of that Cameroon spice and slight cherry note as well on that stick. So that's light up. Very, very eventful so far. I'm gonna go ahead, take my time, get a little further into this first third, and I'll let you guys know how this thing develops. Okay guys, so here we are well into this first third. I accidentally knocked the ash off a little bit, so as you can see, this isn't the original ash, but it is pretty well constructed. The draw is great, the ash is holding strong in general. At this point, this flavor profile has settled down a little bit. Still very intensely flavorful. I'm still getting that cherry note, but it's more like a dried cherry. Like, have you ever had like a dried cherry like you get maybe like, I don't know, trail mix or whatever? I don't think I've ever really seen dried cherries in trail mix, but I could imagine. So I'm getting like a dried cherry. I'm getting nuts, and I'm getting quite a bit of cardamom spice. There's this florality, this citrus note. It's a bit spicy, but also a very smooth smoke. So you hear me say spicy. I don't mean like it's chock full of pepper, right? But it does have a nice little like black pepper tingle to it. Yeah, and there's some florality. This thing smokes like a dream, produces tons of smoke, draws beautifully, which is difficult to do in a Lancero. Although with this being a 40 ring gauge, this is on the larger side of what a Lancero is supposed to be. Typically, Typically with Lanceros, you're talking about like a 7x38, Petite Lancero 6x38. But you will occasionally see some brands go into the 40s and essentially make a Lonsdale, which is going to be around your 42, 44 ring gauge, etc., and then call that a Lancero. We're not going to go into that, but so far, this has been a really good smoke. Again, you got dried cherries, you have nuts, you have baking spices, specifically nutmeg for me, a little hazelnut, and you have some cardamom spice, citrus, florality, a little bit of spiciness, and some black pepper. Overall, absolutely loving this stick. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep smoking this thing down. I'll catch you guys at the halfway point, or if anything changes between now and then, I'll let you guys know. All right, guys, so here we are at roughly the halfway point here. This flavor profile has settled down quite a bit. Most of that black pepper has fallen off. There's no chocolate, at least discernible to me, that I'm getting in this, which I was getting at light up in a good chunk of that first third. That dried cherry note is kind of still hanging on there on the finish, but it is not a predominant flavor note on the palate. At this point, I'm mostly still just getting cardamom with some nuts. I'm also getting a nice caramel note as well. So I'm still getting that citrus. I'm still getting that florality. I'm still getting those nuts. The main flavor note that I love about Don Carlos's is this hazelnut note that comes off a lot like popcorn or buttered popcorn sometimes, and like a really well-aged one. And I'm getting that as well in spades with this flavor profile. So cardamom, buttered popcorn, nuts, and a little bit of caramel. And overall, I'm thoroughly enjoying this cigar. It's, again, Don Carlos's tend to take a second to get warmed up. This was a hitter from jump, very intense, which is to be expected with a Lancero. Lanceros, when blended properly, generally concentrate the flavor of a blend. And the thing you have to realize is, when you're talking about a blend in different vitolas hit differently, because despite using the same overall tobaccos, the same wrapper binder, and the same types of leaves for filler, different vitolas have different amounts of those leaves. Their different vitolas are rolled to give slightly different experiences, right? So it's not just like, oh, this is just a Robusto 5x50, but just less of that exact same blend. No, it's the same leaves, but in different proportions to give different experiences. You know, one vitola might be rolled so that it starts off stronger. Another vitola might be rolled so that it unfolds in thirds a little bit more or a little bit differently. So this is a large reason as to why pretty much everybody is going to have their favorite vitola of a specific type of blend, because those different vitolas hit differently and give you a different experience. It's not just the exact same flavor profile or the exact same overall experience, how those flavors unfold in the cigar and how the cigar evolves over the course of the smoke, just in a different package. It's not just that, right? So the blends, while they're the same in terms of the ingredients, the actual recipe may change from vitola to vitola. But anyway, so far, I'm really liking this Don Carlos Petite Lancero. I've seen this cigar go for ridiculous amounts of money online. So as I said earlier, I paid $16.50 per stick for the handful of Petite Lanceros that I was able to get. However, I've seen some websites list these for as high as $40 per stick. So like, if you really want to pay like $1,000 or more for a box, they're out there. You can do that. I don't recommend it, but you can do that. Despite the fact that I have thousands of cigars, I'm a very, very conscientious shopper. I look for the deals, I look for the best prices, etc. And I suggest you do too, even if you have the money to just throw away on something. It's like, at the end of the day, it's just a cigar. You're gonna light it on fire. You're gonna burn it. Yes, you're gonna enjoy it, but you're gonna burn it and it's gone. Cigars are quite literally just taking money and setting it on fire. So even the collector in me that sometimes will go above and beyond every once in a while and pull the trigger on something like that. Ultimately, be smart with your money. But this is a very good stick. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep smoking this thing down. I'll catch you guys in the final third, and we'll see where we're at. All right, guys, so here we are in this final third, and wow. So that chocolate note is back in full force. That caramel note is still there. Those nuts are still there. That cardamom is also still there. The pepper spice has come back, but it's more of a white pepper and the mid palate at this point than it is the black pepper that I was getting predominantly through the first third airplane and a good chunk of that second third. But the flavor has ramped up so high in intensity right now, but it's not bitter, it's not acrid. It's just more of what this thing has been giving me throughout the majority of the smoke. There was a bit of a lull in that second third where things were still very enjoyable, but had calmed down quite a bit. And now things are ramping up in intensity as we're nearing the end to this. So surprisingly, this cigar has been able to, at least up to this point, avoid the dreaded dip in the final third that 95% of cigars tend to take. Still producing tons of smoke. That hazelnut popcorn note is still there, mostly at the back of the palate and on the finish, so it's not as at the forefront as before. I mentioned that the very first Don Carlos I ever smoked had that note in spades. That cigar, through and through, from start to finish, was buttered popcorn. And I remember smoking that cigar and it was unbelievable how vivid that buttered popcorn note was and how consistent it was. It was like, it reminded me of being at the movies, just, watching a good flick and, just eating that salty, buttery, artificial butter, salty, buttered popcorn, watching a movie. And it was so vivid and I was so taken aback by it that, like, from that moment on, like, I was like, what else does Fuente have? And I just kept smoking and smoking and smoking as many Fuentes as I could get my hands on from that point. And Arturo Fuente quickly became arguably my favorite overall manufacturer, which prior to that point I probably would have said was Davidoff, but Fuente for me personally has overtaken him. So as you can see from me saying that, I'm a big fan of Dominican tobacco, and Fuente and Davidoff are large reasons for that. So absolutely loving where this thing's at right now. I'm just gonna keep smoking this thing down until I'm tired of it, which may or may not happen. So I'll catch you guys at the very end of this and I'll give you my final grade. All right, guys, so here we are at the very end of this one. And as you can see, I am very much enjoying this stick, man. This final third has been amazing. It's hard to call it a crescendo cigar because I don't think this is the best this cigar has been, but I do think that right now it's equal to the best it's been, at the very least. So I very rarely nub cigars. I usually smoke them down to the last inch and a half. Basically, I smoke until I'm no longer enjoying the stick, right? This thing is still hitting so crazy right now. As you can see, there's maybe like a half inch in this thing left. I really don't want this to end. I wish this was a 7.5 or 7.5 full size Lancero, because if that smokes anything like this, I wish there was at least another 1.5 inches, 2 inches left. But it is what it is. This has been phenomenal. I would honestly say, out of the regular Don Carlos blend, that is possibly the best one I've had. The whole time I was smoking it, I was thinking to myself, you know what, this is probably about an A+. If I consider, the peak Don Carlos experience, my first Don Carlos experience that, I've talked about several times in videos, this wasn't quite that. At least that's how I was feeling throughout a good chunk of that cigar. But the way that ended, oh man, I can't not put that into the S tier range. That's, at the very least, from an overall experience standpoint, even though it's a slightly different profile, a bit sweeter than that, a bit more complex than that, I think I have to put it in the S tier. So my rating for the Don Carlos Petite Lancero is an S. It is an S tier cigar. Maybe I'm a bit biased. I'm a bit of a fanboy. I love the Don Carlos blend, but that's my experience with this cigar. Like I said, the whole time I was trending towards A+, but the way that cigar finished in that final third, to where a lot of those flavors, the cardamom step that was still there, I mean, but the caramel ramped up, the chocolate came back, the nuts was another through note there throughout the entire experience. The cigar just, yeah. I don't really know what to say other than that is a fire cigar. That cigar is really good. I hope some of you have the opportunity to come across the Don Carlos Petite Lancero. If you do, for a reasonable price, I'm not going to tell you not to pick it up. But man, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I got a few left. Those are going to go to sleep for quite a while because there's no telling if and when Arturo Fuente will put those back out. But I can tell you one thing, if they ever make the Lancero or Petite Lancero in Don Carlos a regular production blend, you better believe I'm going to stock up on a few boxes. So, all right, guys, that's been my review of the Don Carlos and Petite Lancero. I told you earlier in the video, I got plenty of content for you guys. I wasn't posting, but I was filming, and I will be getting back to editing here. A lot of that content for you guys very soon. I have several pickups vids. I have several cigar reviews. I have a couple cigars for beginners vids. They're all in the pipeline. They're all going to be coming to you guys. Because of the way YouTube is cracking down on cigars, I am probably going to make a second channel. And when I do, I will be letting you guys know. Go over there, subscribe and support. And then I'm also probably going to be making a Rumble just so I have another platform to put these videos out for you guys. You guys know I like to smoke during my videos, but YouTube cracks down a lot, at least from my experience, on videos that actually show me smoking cigars. So what you guys are getting, despite how long these videos might be, because I've done a lot of talking because I've been away for a minute in this one, but you guys will be getting the significantly edited portion of those with all of the actual smoking cut out. And so in other platforms like Rumble, you know, if I start posting videos, those will be the unedited or the less edited versions, which will show me actually smoking the cigars. But per the usual, guys, I appreciate your love and support. Thanks for watching. More content to come, and I'll see you guys on the next one.